The United States earned more medals than any other country in the Olympics. And in wrestling specifically, Team USA earned 9 medals in men's and women's freestyle. So who dominated and who fell flat? Let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans? My name is Josiah, and welcome to Fanco Wrestling, your source for college wrestling news and discussion. And I know this is a college wrestling channel, but I have to discuss the biggest event that's happened in wrestling in the last 5 years, which is the Olympics, the Tokyo Olympics. And there's a lot to discuss about them, including Gable Stevenson's incredible match, how much each of the athletes were actually paid. And then I will actually be getting to the new big wrestling event that's happening this college wrestling season, the Trent versus Hayden Hidlay match, and more in this week's wrestling headlines. And of course, the first thing to discuss is the USA medal count. Wow. As I said, 9 medals across men's and women's freestyle. And unfortunately, it was just men's and women's freestyle. Greco-Roman was kind of the team. They just fell flat. Unfortunately, they didn't get a medal. None of them got onto the stand, and it's kind of been a trend that's happening with USA Wrestling that Greco-Roman just can't pull through. I'd love to see them pull through just because I love supporting USA Wrestling. I love supporting wrestling in general, but it's a shame that Greco-Roman can't do more. But I'll tell you what, with the women's freestyle, with Tamira Mensah-Stock, who got things kicked off with a gold medal for Team USA, the first ever black woman to ever win a medal in women's freestyle wrestling. Unbelievable. And the second ever woman in U.S. history, just in general, to ever win an Olympic gold medal in women's wrestling. My hat's off to her. I mean, she came off the mat after her performance, and if you haven't seen this video, you got to check it out. But she came off the mat in her interview and was just so happy, so bubbly, so energetic that she had won an Olympic gold medal. But more specifically, she was just so energetic that she was able to represent her country, represent the United States of America. She was so happy about it, and this clip has been circulating all on the internet, all online. I actually I retweeted it on my Twitter because it was just such a fantastic interview. As far as the other women, Adeline Gray, Helen Morales, Sarah Hildebrand all got onto the stand. They all got Olympic medals. Fantastic to see Adeline Gray making the Olympic finals. And then let's talk about the men. The men also had a extremely dominant performance. Each of the guys that we took there actually got on the stand. They got a medal. The only weight that we didn't qualify was 65 kilograms, so we didn't have a guy there. But man, if we did, it would have been fantastic to have every single guy in the U.S. medal. I don't know if that has ever happened. I've actually had to look into that. But Kyle Dake, unfortunately, it was a letdown in the fact that everybody kind of expected him to get to the finals just easily. But this is the Olympics. This is the highest end of wrestling there is. It's the professional level of wrestling. And unfortunately, he did get tacked in the quarterfinals. But here's the thing. His grit, his determination, he was able to battle back for a bronze medal. Same with Thomas Gilman, who brought back in the repechage, was able to come back and get a bronze medal. It was just fantastic to follow each of these guys' journeys over the last couple of years. And specifically, when they come back for these medals. And then Kyle Snyder made the finals against Sajalayev, the Russian, and it was supposed to be their big rematch, and it was their big rematch, the third time these guys have wrestled. They, of course, had wrestled twice in the past when each guy, the match went a certain way for each guy. Unfortunately, this time it went in the Russians' way. Snyder wasn't able to get the job done, but I'll tell you this is kind of what, really upsets me about wrestling, freestyle wrestling, that is that Sajalayev didn't even take a shot. Snyder's opponent didn't even take a shot. Snyder was the clear aggressor, but in freestyle, it doesn't really mean much because he was just able to get exposure on Snyder, even though the first one I was like, really? That's exposure there? But, the rules are what they are, and it's just, it just made me so upset. But I'm congratulating Kyle Snyder because he did make the Olympic finals for the second time in his career. The first time, of course, he won. This time, made the Olympic finals, and he's 25 years old, already a 2-time Olympic medalist. Impressive. And then let's talk about David Taylor and Gable Stevenson. You want to talk about, some of the biggest stories in the Olympics. So first of all, David Taylor, coming down to the last 30 seconds, was able to get a takedown. He was down a 3-2, it was 3-1 or 3-2, excuse me. He was able to come back, get a takedown in the last 30 seconds, and win over Yazdani. And then Gable Stevenson tops that with his incredible match when he was down he was up 5-2, ended up getting exposure on him and was down, but ended up coming back for the comeback of the century. I mean, the comeback, like, this was the most incredible comeback I've ever seen in my life. They came down to the second, the last second. This was the story not just of wrestling, but of the Olympics. He got 2 takedowns with 15 seconds left on the clock. With 15 seconds, he was attacking. And, you know, as time was winding down, rewind a bit to like 30 seconds, I'm like, man, you know, Gable just had such a great year. A Big Ten title, NCAA title, Olympian, made the Olympic finals, but he's not going to be able to get the job done. And that's what I'm thinking with 30 seconds stuff. Well, he had other thoughts, because with 15 seconds, he's attacking, he gets a takedown, 6 seconds left on the clock, and the other guy's like, there's not a chance. There's not a chance. Just give me my Olympic gold medal right now. Gable said, not today. Ended up coming, attacking full force, came at him, got a takedown with less than a second left on the clock to win his Olympic gold medal. And not only did he get an Olympic gold medal, he also earned $250,000. So athletes are able to earn this money through the Living the Dream Foundation, which awards wrestlers money depending on where they medal in the Olympics. Over $950,000 was awarded to wrestlers this Olympic cycle. With gold medals are worth $250,000. That's your payday. $50K for silver, and then bronze pays you $25,000. And with such a big payday for Gable Steveson, as well as sponsorships coming his way, I gotta ask you, do you think that Gable will continue to wrestle? Will he wrestle Worlds in a month? Will he come back to college wrestling? Or is this where he calls it quits? Is this where he puts his shoes in the middle of the mat? This is where he hangs it up and just ends up going into the WWE or another field? And as we speak about college wrestling, there's a massive event coming back this year, finally, the National Wrestling Duels. I have been wanting this event to come back for quite some time. I think the last time they happened was 2017, 2018, but they're back this December. I'm going to tell you about who's competing in the format in just a second, but they're happening this December, hosted in Florida by Journeyman Wrestling, who puts on plenty of other wrestling events, and they will be live on Rockfin. I'll have links to everything down in the description below, as usual, so you can check it out. But who's competing in the event? So the top 25 at the NCAA tournament were invited to compete in the dual style format this December. And it's great because it's happening in December and not at the end of the season, which is typically when it has happened, like right before Big Ten, right before NCAAs. And a lot of coaches were kind of hesitant. They didn't really want to compete because they didn't want their guys getting injured for the individuals. They really couldn't care less about winning a team title. They wanted their like team dual title. They wanted, or a dual, they wanted their guys to get to the top of the stand, and that's understandable. But, you know, if I had to say, and as we see with this graphic here, you know, Arizona State, Iowa, Cornell, Michigan, NC State, Mizzou, Virginia Tech, all these teams are competing, and it's great that they're all there. But I guess my one, like, downside, I wish that, like, Penn State was there, or Oklahoma State. Like, it's tough to say this is a national dual title when not every team's competing. It seems almost a little bit more like an invitational, especially because the season hasn't even happened yet. So, like, how do we know who should be invited? Again, this is another thing I thought I have. Like, I think that there should just be a dual season at the beginning of the year, October through November, host these duels in December. But, you know, that's my 2 cents on the matter. As far as the format, it's a 2-day format in December 20th and 21st. The first day is 4 pools of 3 teams competing. They're trying to keep teams that were in the same conference away from each other, so try not to have NC State and Virginia Tech wrestle each other, or Michigan and Iowa wrestle each other that first day. But the winners of each pool will move on to a 4-man bracket, similar to like college football format. 4-man bracket to decide the winner on the second day. And man, this is going to be a fantastic event. But speaking of other fantastic events, there's one that just happened over the past weekend. Trent versus Hayden Hidlay. The brothers, that's right, they did wrestle each other in the event called Wrangle in the Wild. These two wrestlepreneurs put on the event. They hosted 14 matches for youth, high school, and guys that are just amateurs. They've wrestled in the past, but were out of shape. You know, they probably put in a little bit of training, but these two guys pulled the event together. And, you know, my hat's off to these guys, like, for putting the event together. But with the different rules, with the different periods, it's always fun to watch, of course, the flow wrestling events, the very professional style events. And this event, like, don't get me wrong, this was extremely well put together. But it was just funny to see, like, the Hidlay mom, she was doing, like, the blood time. And they had a guy with, like, security taped onto the back of his shirt. Like, that's just great stuff that I like to see coming out of these Pennsylvania guys. But Trent and Hayden, what happened in the match? Well, Trent was able to get the victory over Hayden. He got 2 takedowns on Hayden. Hayden wasn't able to score at all, except on some escapes. So I believe his final score was 4-2. But Hayden almost had 2 at the end. And it was quite the exciting match to see. Trent looked just a lot bigger than Hayden, which was kind of expected. But I think it's even more fantastic that they were able to raise like $1,000 for the charity that they were going for. I believe it was actually a youth wrestling organization they were raising money for. But $1,000 going towards that with this event that was packed, gym-packed, full of people. And I loved watching that. And then the last thing is Nick Suriano. What the heck is going on with Nick Suriano? I mean, what's going on in his head right now? He's posting all these weird cryptic videos on Instagram of the world circling around, and what is it like? He's supposed to be, or he's trying to say like this is where he's going to be wrestling. And so he posted this video the other day with coordinates, with the globe circling and coordinates that zoomed in, and it was in Phoenix, Arizona. So he's saying like this is where he is, this is where he's training now. So maybe he's going to wrestle at Arizona State. I don't know. I think it's some sort of, like, it's not an official statement. He didn't say I'm wrestling at Arizona State. He's still being really cryptic. But then at the end, he just stands there with his hands in the air right afterwards. I don't know what's going on here, but I will tell you this. I did look into some spots for Nick Suriano, where he could go. Arizona State seems like the obvious choice, but I still think there are a couple other schools he could go. Ohio State, potentially. Could he go somewhere else in the Big Ten? I put together 5 landing spots for Nick Suriano. If you want to check out that article, I have that linked up right here. Or if you want to check out another video, you can check that one out right down here.